So this is what I was playing in the solo, and I just want to go over a few highlights and kind of like the thought process that was going on. So I start with this line, right? I was playing this, and then I was repeating that idea a couple of times in this register. So again, perfect repetition-ish. Again, it could be altered, right? It's not doesn't need to be perfect repetition exactly, but that concept of repeating an idea and creating the context. And then I change it a little bit, just that like little line to give it like something. Then I was actually playing the same line apparently in an octave up. So again, I basically for about I think 8 bars or so, I was kind of setting up the solo almost. I'm just repeating, locking into the groove. So not doing a lot. Very, very C major scale, right? So if you know your C major scale, you got it. So repeating the idea, locking into the groove, and then preparing kind of like the next step. And then I think I played like a little line that was like a little lower, and then after that line, the next section I jumped higher. Again, the idea of contrast. So I think for us, if I just whisper all the time and then I shout, it's like, okay, there is a contrast. Like it raises your attention. It's the same thing with guitar. If you're just playing a million notes all the time, it's not as exciting as playing little and then a lot, soft and then loud. So all these transitions, register, low, high, all these things grabs our attention. So I'm consciously trying to work on that, and that was what I was doing in the solo. So then I went up again. This register is very, very expressive to me. So playing here is kind of like very like wow, okay, a lot of intention. So I went up here playing this idea, very again C major slash A pentatonic, a little bluesiness with the C, but very surrounding that center in a very clear way. And I was playing with that note, then hitting that again. Again, it's not a perfect repetition, but I'm using the same elements and same framework to kind of create this image. And then I was contrasting that idea. Again, all our ideas so far were pretty slow, not in a bad way, just like there wasn't any fast lines. So I kind of wanted to go back, I guess, to this register that I played, the second line, if you remember the. But then I used that same framework that we did with kind of the idea of the line is like around that C. So I play this like flary. Again, if you slow it down, I'm just playing a hammer on from G to A, and then hammer on from A to E, and then just kind of playing it a little faster. And the way I'm thinking about it, it's not that I was trying to play like some fast lines to impress myself or you guys. It's just a different sound. This sound, it's great, and this is a different sound. And then later on, I started to have a little more chromatic ideas with trying to kind of hear the center of C and hearing those notes. Right, so this is C, and this is the wrongest note you can play, D sharp, wrongest. It's just a lot of tension. So I tried to create this idea of tension that is very not stylistically to blues within that context of this groove. I think there's no right or wrong notes. I think it's all tension and release, and if you hear something and can imagine it, it's going to sound good. So that was what I was thinking. So in another section of the solo, I'm playing this note, this G, kind of repeating that idea, and then going and playing, just messing around with different notes. And I think it's the same idea of that repetition thing that we're talking about, but here there's another element of rhythm. So I'm really trying to lean on and kind of manifest this groove and I don't know, this feeling, right? So I'm not doing a lot. If you think about the notes that I'm playing G, C, G, D, maybe G, E, but it's not a lot of information, but just the time and that concept that I'm trying to go for is locking in, not doing a lot, but making it feel as best as I can. And that's an ongoing quest for me, and I think for a lot of musicians, that idea of like trying to lock into the groove and whatever we're playing, make it sound good. And of course, we can do different things rhythmically and harmonically that are interesting, but I think a lot of it is just locking in and trying to like be truthful. So toward the end of the solo, I started playing some dyads. Again, nothing crazy. It's just thirds and a little bit of sixths around this area, So even if you don't see it all across the guitar and just practicing it in a few areas, C major scale, again, nothing crazy, and playing 1 and 3, just dyads. And then I was playing that a little bit as a contrast because I didn't play any chords or any harmonic kind of like intervals. So there was that. And then toward the end of the solo, again, I went back to the first place that I started, which was here. So I went back to almost the same phrase. So there were kind of like a few key phrases in the solo that I was trying to mess around with. And that, right, so these were elements that kind of kept bouncing back with different angles that I was addressing them. So for me, that was like kind of like, okay, we went on this journey, we explored, we got even 2 dyads, some chromatic notes a little bit, some sounds, and then going back, kind of closure.